And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Okay, tomorrow's chart here showing a trough bringing clouds and quite a bit of shower activity into south central Alaska. Heaviest precipitation, southern Kenai Peninsula, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound area, but definitely a change from today in all of these areas here. And that'll extend down across the southeast coast. Another variably to mostly sunny day over the interior, hot temperatures in the east. Cooler, cloudier, more showery back to the west, and still this low strong enough here to keep some gusty winds going over the northern Bering Sea up to the Bering Strait and even along the Yukon Delta coast, but drier and a lot less wind over the central southern Bering Sea, especially the Aleutians. Rain spreading into Kodiak Island associated with this low here and that southeast flow feeding that moisture up. And the next day, that kicks off to the east, actually kind of splits here with one portion pulling a lot of moisture up into southern Alaska, Copper River Basin, widespread shower activity through this area. Getting even north of the Alaska Range, look for some thunderstorm activity up into the mid and upper Tanana Valley, 40-mile country, even over the central interior, back in toward the Brooks Range and the northwest coast there. This low continues just west of St. Lawrence Island, close enough though that'll keep some showers and cloudy skies in over the Yukon Delta, lower Yukon River Valley, Seward Peninsula area. Dry down toward the Pribilofs, maybe some clearing. Next system bringing increasing wind and rain into the south coast of the Panhandle. A couple of troughs out west bringing moisture, light moisture with IFR flying conditions into the western central Aleutians. Coastal water forecast here. South to southeast winds, 10 knots. Central coast, southeast 10 to 15 knots. And the north coast, a little windier there. Easterlies, 20 to 25 knots, 6 to 9 foot seas. And for Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, Stevens Passage, north winds at 10 knots, seas 2 feet. Southeast at 10 with 3 foot seas for Stevens Passage. And for Monday, southeast winds, 10 knots, Lynn Canal, Stevens Passage. And south at 10 for Clarence Strait. Central and south coast here looking at south winds at 15 knots. The north coast, east-southeast 15 to 20 knots. Prince William Sound, small craft advisories, east winds 25 knots for the day Sunday. Seas at about 4 feet. Small craft advisories for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Southeast 25 knots, 5 to 6 foot seas. West or east at 15 for the western North Gulf Coast. Southeast 15 for the Barren Islands. East at 20 tomorrow for the Kamishak Bay area. Northeast, 15 knots for Cook Inlet, seas 3 feet. And then for Monday, Cook Inlet, west to southwest breeze at about 10 knots. Light variable winds for the Kamishak Bay area. Northeast at 15 for the Barren Islands. North Gulf Coast, east to north winds, 15 knots. And Prince William Sound, variable to northeast winds at about 10. Kodiak Island, east-southeast wind, 20 knots for the day on Sunday. Southwest or west-southwest here, 15 to 20 knots for the Alaska Peninsula, but still east, 25 knots for Bristol Bay with 3 foot seas. And then those drop off to 10 knots, turn westerly for Bristol Bay, but the seas come up to about 4 feet. And Monday, looking west winds on the southern side of the peninsula, south winds on the north side, all at about 15 knots here. Kodiak Island, north winds 15 knots. Eastern Aleutians, southwest wind 20 knots for Sunday, west-southwest 20 knots for Adak and Atka. Western Aleutians, west winds 15 to 25 knots with 8 to 9 foot or 7 to 9 foot seas. And for Monday, Western Aleutians, west-southwest 15 to 20 knots, west winds 20 knots for Adak and Atka. And then southwest 15 to 20 for the Fox Islands. Southwest coast, small craft advisories tomorrow. Southeast winds at 25 knots. Same forecast for St. Lawrence Island, southeast at 25. Southeast winds 30 knots for Norton Sound with 6 foot seas. And the Pribilofs, southwest at 25, 10 foot seas. South at 25 for St. Matthew Island with seas at 12 feet. And for Monday, St. Matthew Island, southwest at 25 with 9 foot seas. Southwest 20 knots for the Pribilofs, seas still up to 8 feet. And St. Lawrence Island, southwest coast, and Norton Sound, all looking at south winds at 20 knots for Monday. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow, east winds 15 knots, turn northeast on the central coast, back around to the east at 15 on the west side. Chukchi Sea, southeast winds 20 knots. And for Monday, east-southeast winds 20 knots for the Chukchi Sea. And Mostly east or southeast winds are variable for the Arctic coast. Not too bad there at about 10 knots with 2 to 3 foot seas.